Welcome, amazing people, to another episode of the Sacred to Travel podcast. And the day that this episode airs, we are in the middle of the summer solstice portal. So, of course, this time of year is the biggest invitation to explore how the ancient ones built the temples in alignment with the pathways of the sun and what gateways they were actually representing. So for those of you who are completely new to these ancient pagan festivals, I highly recommend you to look up the Wheel of the Year calendar, where there is all the high holy days and also the cross-quarter days. Summer solstice is the point of the year where the sun is the highest in the sky, which also means that we are getting the most intense solar codes onto the earth. And so I want to bring to you today a few concepts about the sun and the solar consciousness so that we can a little bit better understand what's going on at the back end. And really inviting you to allow your mental state to come to rest and feel into the reverberation of what am I bringing forward. Just feel this with your being and feel if this is a truth to you. And there might be a truth with a capital T and there might be a truth with a small t. So I want just to have a little bit of background understanding. I want to go into just briefly the concepts of how the ancient Greeks and also how the ancient Egyptians saw and venerated the sun. So for the Greeks, for example, there was Helios, and Helios as the sun, or also the deity representing the sun, as a symbol of the illuminating principle of what we can call the supramental consciousness of truth. So yes, it is a planet. Yes, it is a deity, but the symbolism behind is actually the consciousness of illumination. And so Helios was attributed to be the one who sees it all and also therefore to know it all. Because the one who sees, the seer, the one with the oracular vision, is also the person, the man, the woman of knowledge. And so when you know the truth, because you've seen them illuminated of all things, you can discern any kind of falsity that, is within you, but also that is around you. And the ancient Egyptians, they not just worship, but they venerated the sun. And they knew the sun to be so much more than a planet. So for the Egyptians, it wasn't just one god representing the sun or the concept of illumination, but it was actually two. There was Amun and there was Ra. And a lot of times we see them go together as Amun-Ra. But it's actually two sides. It's twins of the same coin. So there is, even for the sun, in everything, there is balance. In everything we have the polarities that we play with. There is a dark and a bright side. And so Ra representing the bright side of the sun and Amun representing the dark side of the sun. So they are complementing each other. And also, if we look at these phenomena in nature about the solstice and how the sun is birthed and how the sun dies again, it is really this concept of the cycles. And so coming back to the ancient Egyptians, what for them, it represented was almost like codes that are emanated from the sun that were the essence of life and that were the giver of life and also the sustainer of life. So just as we perceive to circle around the sun, there is a sun behind the sun, which is called the central sun. And actually, when I prepared for this episode, that is what I kept on hearing all along. Like it's not about the sun, it's about the central sun. It's about the central sun. I could not tell you what that is. I know that there is many concepts, and as I say, feel into this for yourself, like what you feel is the truth. So there is quite some speculations about like where the central sun is located in the universe and what star that is. But let's just again like leave the mental and the tags that we want to give to everything aside. Just know that there is a sun behind the sun. And what in many of the research has shown is that there is a particular constellation with Orion. And Orion is very much, Osiris is the embodiment of the Orion constellation with the counterpart of Isis. Just putting that because we're going to be getting there later. Hey, everybody, if you are enjoying the show, then you would do me the biggest favor in clicking the subscribe button and engaging with my content so I can continue to deliver these beautiful conversations to you. Thank you so much. And so just know that the constellation of Orion, and it's also something that I guess most probably everyone has seen, and that is very prominent in the sky, the Orion's belt, not the entire constellation, but at least Orion's belt that is made up of these three stars that form one line. And many, many, many different temple constellations, pyramid constellations are actually built according to or as a representation of the belt of Orion, to be in communication, to be a gateway into this Orion consciousness and what's behind the central sun. So yeah, in the Egyptian pantheon, Osiris is the one holding the codes from Orion. And so this is shifting everything because it does not actually make our central access point in the universe the sun, but it actually makes it the sun behind the sun. And so that leaves us with our sun that we see as a reflector of the codes that are coming from behind the central sun. And I know that we are getting very galactic here at the moment, but you will see why. And also, and I'm saying also because some say that Sirius plays another part in it. Some also say that Sirius is the central sun, which personally I am not so sure about. But whatever. So Sirius, as the highly, highly advanced star nation that is very close to the constellation of Orion, that is kind of like in one line with the belt of Orion. And Sirius is also known as Sabdat, which is personified as the winged golden goddess Isis. She is a solar deity, but she's also a lunar deity of the Egyptian Neteru. And again, we have the balancing forces. So we had Amun and Ra, and we had Osiris and Isis holding these balance points. And now coming back to the point at the cycle of the year and the wheel that we are now, the solstice is also very much aligned or like tying into the happenings that will come, which are related to Sirius and to the heliacal rise of Sirius, because now for many of us, and that's an interesting point, Sirius is not visible in the sky. And Sirius is the representation of the soul or the spiritual sun of the sun. So it's from Sirius that a lot of this like high advanced ancient technology, they're also very much connected to Atlantis, is streaming at this point where the sun is the brightest, where the sun is the highest in the sky. So this reflector is on the highest point and is able to give the most. And a lot of times we perceive it's the solar codes. And yes, it is, but it's actually what is behind that, which is Sirius, which might be another central sun. So all of this consciousness is coming in the fullest towards the earth. And so when we have, and then it is through these temples and ancient structures that have been built by the ancient ones who knew exactly how to align them also to these constellations as the anchor and as the gateway to communicate with these codes and this consciousness, and also to anchor in these codes into planet Earth. And so it means that the sun, which is the I am power of the universe, which is the personification, the personal identification, it does have a soul, a spiritual self in Sirius that is bringing the earth and the cosmos, the codes of awakening, remembrance of these ancient technologies that actually all already reside within our hearts, our brains, and our bodies. And so this is the point of the year where we have access to these codes the most, not to say that they are not there. And especially if we then locate ourselves into these structures that might be stone circles, that might be pyramids, that might be other places on the earth where it's exactly about the solar consciousness and these codes, that can even be an amplifier. And of course, these structures that are very often like stone structures, crystalline quartz structures, because this is where this consciousness is being stored into, and they hold it for us. So we can go and we can access these codes to become alive within our own bodies. So this is a little bit about where we're coming from. So you know that any temple that you go to in the future now that is dedicated to the sun, yes, it's about the sun, but there is actually a lot more than just the sun. So coming back also to Osiris and Isis, there is a whole cosmology about what is called a golden gate and a silver gate. I don't want to go into this, but if it interests you, it's a real rabbit hole. So rabbit hole alert. You can look it up. Basically what this is the access points of our soul to incarnate on Earth. And this representing the cycles of life, death, and also rebirth. And again, remembering like the constellation in the sky with Osiris and Isis, and Osiris is known to be the lord of the underworld. Isis is known to be the goddess of resurrection because she resurrected her husband Osiris. And in the colors, it is actually also Osiris with the gold and Isis with the silver. And all of that combined also with how we literally can see in nature how the sun cycles around. So we have these cycles, right, with the sun rising and the sun going down every day, but also every season is different. And so coming from the winter solstice where the sun is actually being birthed, the longest day, the shortest day, the longest night. And we have the summer solstice, which with the longest day and the shortest night. And so there is always these balance points, whether you want to see it as a deity, whether you want to see it as a planet, all of this resides within you. This is just outer representations. And so within this context, we can a little bit better understand that this whole sun veneration was a crucial aspect of the ancient temple culture to not be separated from a spiritual practice and mundane life, but it was really going together, and it was nature teaching these aspects of spirituality because they were much more in tune, of course, than we are today. So behind me is the magnificent, amazing temple complex of Karnak in Egypt, which is, I believe it's even the biggest temple complex in the world. It might be not, but I think it is. And it's just huge. It's massive. And there is so many different gateways and chapels and portals when you go. But overall, what Karnak was built for, and it was built over hundreds of years under different dynasties, it's a temple for a lot of solar deities, amongst others for Amun-Ra. And Karnak in itself, it translates to the mound of original creation. Coming back to what is the consciousness behind, or what is the consciousness of the sun? It is the codes of creation, because light, like birthing light, is in the physical sense supporting life, but also the path of illumination, so to say. It is bringing us from the darkness, from hell into heaven, into the light. And it's not about ascension. It's merely about being able to hold a certain consciousness in the body. And Karnak, you can see these, amazing, amazing pillars. And so when you walk in, there is this massive courtyard. Like it's massive. You walk through it and you feel like this was not built by humans with these hypostyle halls. And then you walk, as almost in every temple in Egypt, it's 7 gates. It's 7 being a very significant number. You walk through these 7 gates until you come into what is called the Holy of the Holiest, which would be the most inner sanctum, which actually also resides within your heart. And it's not closed off. There is a window also that goes out that is exactly in line with this entire gateway that you walk. And there is an altar in the middle of the Holy of the Holiest. And so there is an exact alignment in Karnak where at the day of the winter solstice, the sun births, and it is first seen in this holy of the holiest, and then making its way as it rises all along this corridor, along these 7 gates, 7 gateways, until the temple to the temple entrance. And then when the sun rays hit, the guards open. On the other hand, so this is the winter solstice. This is the birthing sun. Now we are at the summer solstice. The sun dies, the light dies at the entrance of the temple. This is where the sun goes down, signifying this next half year where the cycles change, where now it was the sun that was on the rise over these last 6 months from the winter solstice, and now it dies and it makes way for Amun, the dark side of the sun. And so again, we have this, beautiful depiction of that the light births at the winter solstice in the Holy of the Holies, which means inside yourself, there is this place where that divine spark, that you being a part of Source, you being a part of God, the universe, whatever is your name for it, it comes from here. It's not coming from outside. And then from inside, it spreads out. And it also, in a little bit of a further context, tells us that there is cycles for us to venerate, right? That there is cycles to really shine, and that there is also a time to retrieve and go inward and rest. So that is just a little bit about Karnak. In Karnak, there is also a chapel that is dedicated to the goddess Sekhmet. She is like the solar deity. She is the lion-headed goddess Sekhmet, and she is all about the fire. So if we take summer solstice, Sekhmet is the perfect equivalent, because it's the burning fires. And the burning fire can be very driving and motivating and creating, but there is also the thread of that too much fire burns everything to the ground. And that is where she comes in, because whenever things, societies, your own life is not built on the pillars of truth, everything needs to burn to the ground so that there is a fertile new soil that can be taken to build up everything anew from that inner truth and that inner sovereign standing of I am. And so a lot of these solar codes and the solar deities, they are very much a representation of your own I am sovereign powers. And that's why also for basically all along in history, it was usually always the king, the pharaoh, the emperor, who was this God installed figure. And it developed into egos over time, but in essence it means that the truth reigns. And so coming back to your own truth, like where are you choosing your own sovereignty? Do you live more in, or is there situations where you rather live in some sort of victimhood? And you can call onto your creator powers and use these solar codes to really know your truth and allow yourself to stand in your truth. Another chapel in Karnak is dedicated to the beautiful and magnificent Hatshepsut. And Hatshepsut does have her own mortuary temple, close to the Valley of the Kings, the Valley of the Queens, which are, by the way, also gateways of the solar and the lunar. So Hatshepsut was the first and the only, I believe, female pharaoh. So whenever you will be in Egypt or you hear about Egypt, many of the guides still talk about her as a guy, because there was also some deception at the moment, but she was a woman, and she was actually a very, very successful pharaoh, bringing these solar codes on Earth. And solar codes are also about power. Where are we giving power away? Where are you giving power away? Or are you cultivating power with, or rather power over? So there is this beautiful red chapel at Karnak that is dedicated to her. And then her mortuary temple is very interesting because it's built into a mountain, actually, a red mountain. And there is this beautiful altar that is kind of an elevated plateau that is the altar for the sun worship. And during my last visit in December, we actually had the possibility to go there, which is because it's not always open. And so that was really, really incredible to just, stand there. And I'm just inspired to do a little activation with you right away. Just let me go into some more of the structures that I want to share with you today. There is a lot more, and I can for sure not name all of them here, but I almost guarantee you that if you visit any kind of stone circle, there is going to be an alignment to the solstices. 99%. So most of the stone circles they also act as an observatory, but also really, again, like as this gateway to teleport, to transport with the right consciousness into these other star nations or into other dimensions, just to be able to communicate with other realms, with other types of consciousness, also to be able to hold the balance on Earth and to anchor the balance on this planet that we chose to be home. Another great example of masonry at its finest is the Sun Temple at Machu Picchu. There is windows in these structure, and you may want to look it up. And from the outside, it totally looks like, what is this? And there is a very, very distinct alignment that happens at the summer and the winter solstices. Now, beware, because it's in the other hemisphere. So this means that also winter and summer solstice are reversed. But nevertheless, these temple windows are exactly aligned, and they will illuminate once the sun at the winter or the summer solstice rises. So again, it's about this, the birthing of the light. Also, when we go back to the twin aspect that we had about the solar and the lunar, or even like the dark and the bright aspect of the sun, you will find many structures that are twin temples. So, for example, in the great Mexican complex of Teotihuacan, there is a pyramid of the sun and there is also a pyramid of the moon. So it's very important that those two are equalized, and because they are kind of like equalizers for each other, holding the balance. And so when one of these portals collapses, the other one is not really able also to hold its balance. And so that's very important that the gateways are always kept clear and kept in balance. At Lake Titicaca, which in itself is the sacral chakra of the earth, there is 2 islands. One is the island of the sun that is home to the god Viracocha. And there is one island that is the island of the moon, and that is Mamakila, the moon goddess. So again, there is these balance points. There's not one without the other. And as we are especially talking about the gateways, there is what we might not even really perceive, because yes, there is, of course, the pyramids and there is the stone circles, but there is actually also man-made structures that function as exactly these gates, and they are in very strategic positions on the earth. And I bet some of you have come across them quite often. And that's what it literally says. So coming from the cosmos, where it's the golden and the silver gate, I mean, think about it. Where on earth do we have golden gates or silver gates? So there is, of course, the Golden Gate Bridge. And with these bridges, they are also the keepers of, and the almost like the glue to different land masses, but also to different energies, polarity energies that are kept and that give us an access point as a gateway into these higher dimensions to be accessing the codes. So there is Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco, of course. And then there is a bit of a controversy whether it is actually Brooklyn Bridge in New York or the Lionsgate Bridge in Vancouver, which is the counterpart. I personally feel more that it's the Lionsgate Bridge in Vancouver, but I'll leave that up to you to decide. You can also do your own research. The same we have in Europe. There is in Portugal, in Lisbon, there is a Golden Gate. And then we have in Istanbul, Turkey, at the Bosporus. And remember, it's so a lot of these things, and it's really like there's so much symbolism in there. We are talking about the sun, but in a lot of contexts, there is water involved all the time. So it's the Bosporus Bridge, the Silver Gate, and those are the 2 points that are, holding the whole. When we go to Jerusalem, there is a Golden Gate on Temple Mount. That was the gate where they said that Jesus rode through on a donkey. And then there is also the Silver Gate. So wherever we have these access points, and I'm not saying that it means that, when we go back to what I shared about the incarnation points and the point where a lot of souls leave the plane, it doesn't mean that like this is at the Golden Gates, there is a lot of people dying, and at the Silver Gates, there's a lot of people being birthed. That doesn't mean it. It's more like the consciousness that we are able to access. And I like to think of it as this toroidal field. And so, like, no matter the direction where you're coming from, you will always end up at the same spot eventually, which is the Holy of the Holiest, deep inside your heart, where the first spark of light, you as a fractal from the sun, came to be. So, yeah. Also, what I see is that for me, the solar consciousness is very much anchored into several mountains that are kind of capturing, and again, similar to how I see the sun as this reflector, they are a reflector platform where they soak in the codes and then the warmth and also the spiritual consciousness from behind, and then from there transported into the meridians of the landscape and the earth. And so the mountains where I see that this is definitely happening, and I'm sure that there is a lot more, but it's definitely Table Mountain for Africa. So at this southern tip where this information comes in and then is just being fueled into this continent. And there is a mountain, and there's a lot more also to this mountain as far as I know. Sigiriya, it's the Lion Mountain, and it's interesting because the more I share, I feel that there is really this connection, not just between the sun, but also Sirius and the lions, because we will also step into the Lion's Gate soon with the 8/8 portal, the 8th of August. So on Sri Lanka, there is this mountain, Sigiriya, and when you look at it, it's like it's flat everywhere, and then there is just like this giant red rock coming almost out of nowhere. And so it really feels like this is drawing in these solar energies. And the probably most prominent one, of course, is Uluru in Australia, which at the same time is the solar plexus chakra of the earth. And so again, the solar plexus, who is married to the solar codes, because this is the I am in our bodies. And so the Uluru is the I am consciousness on our planet Earth. And also here seeing, just this red color, and seeing it's desert, it's flat, and then there is this giant red plateau rock coming, out of the earth to say, hey, like, give me your information, and I'll be taking it and transporting it further into the grid lines and the ley lines, and the chakra, and Uluru being chakra point for solar consciousness, of course, also is in connection with all the other chakras. If you want to look this up again, go to my episode about how the earth speaks. You will all find this information in there. And then there is many, many islands who are also attributed to the sun. And with that, not just the sun, but actually being birthing places for civilizations, birthing places for a different or a new kind of consciousness. So there is Rhodes, a Greek island that is, also a leftover of Atlantis. There's Capri Island in Italy. There is Isla Mujeres in Mexico, and many, many more. And for most of these islands, what is true, so Isla Mujeres, for example, it is the first landmass that the sun touches of like this, the country. And again, it's very interesting just to have in mind that the sun as the bringer of this new dawn, the golden codes, the new age, the new earth consciousness. Okay, so this is pretty much all the things that I wanted to mention, and I definitely encourage you to look up more because there is so much all around the planet. We will definitely find that. And if it is safe for you to do now, then I am inviting you to close your eyes so we can transition into the short activation with Hatshepsut. Okay, inviting you to close your eyes. If you can find a stand, then find a stand with your feet hip width distance apart and your arms resting by your side, your palms open to receive. And on your next inhalation, your consciousness, your guidance, your vision is bringing you to Egypt and into the sanctuary of Hatshepsut. You're standing in this beautifully bright illuminated courtyard, and you can feel the warmth of the sun in your face, on your skin. And instead of walking straight ahead into the Holy of the Holies, you turn right and you walk through another gateway, letting you arrive into the Temple of the Sun. And you can feel how the mountain from behind the temple walls, and you can actually see them because the temple is open. There is walls, but there's no ceiling. You can see this magnificent mountain and the temple that from color almost blends into this myriad of golden, orange, red, all the colors of the sun until the brightest white light come together and form Solaris dances. And you feel called to step into the temple of the sun. That is basically a square that is laid out, and in its middle there is a giant altar. But it's not an altar that you would stand on. It is actually an altar that you walk on. So you're taking the little steps to the left, and slowly, one foot by the other, you walk up this altar. And you position yourself in the middle, facing towards the back of the temple, because this is where you are facing the mountain and this is where you are facing the sun. And you can already feel how from below your feet start to tingle. And the solar codes, the consciousness that is anchored into this temple, but also anchored into this very specific altar stone. How the codes start to merge with your body, how they start to infuse every little cell of your being, crawling up your feet, your thighs, making its way into your body and up into your heart center. And if you feel called, you can even extend the arms more to soak up this light with your skin. And you don't have to be afraid to get burned. You are protected, Just for now, feel also how from the sun and from the sun behind the sun and Sirius as the spiritual sun, all of these keys and informations are now entering your system, your hair, your nails, your chest, your eyeballs, your throat, your hands. Feel how there is one point right above your heart where all of these focalize and almost like the rays of the sun concentrate into that one spot to really penetrate your heart. And from there is an inner gateway into your solar plexus that is opened with this liquid golden yellow light, cracking open to the dynamics of balance, integration, individuality, and at the same time, being one with the all. Cracking open to power over, being released, and power with being activated. Cracking open to you being the sovereign creator, creatrix of your own being, of your own life, and seeing where you need to come into alignment. So this inner illumination is penetrating your entire being, bringing light into all the shadow pieces, bringing light into all the emotions, the situations that have been cast out, that have been shamed. Now it is time to bring them back, to lead them back into the light so they can be free and you can be free too. Soaking in the last warm rays as you feel how the sun is slowly setting behind the mountain. And you are making your way down from the stone altar back into the courtyard, filled up to the brim with light. And knowing that it is time to integrate all of this light. So over the next couple of days, being gentle on yourself, holding space for all of this light to be integrated into your body as inherently yours. Soaking in one deep, deep, deep breath into your belly, and then allowing yourself to come back to screen, opening your eyes again. If you're listening to this, bringing more movement into your hand and feet and going back to your daily rhythm. Thank you so much for joining. I would love for you to subscribe to my channel or to leave me a comment. Let me know if there is any experience, any findings that you have made. I love to hear from you. See you next time.